Welcome to Through the Roof, where we explore life inside the walls we call home and the lives we build within them. I'm Ruth, property professional, storyteller and lover of all things home. Each week, we'll open the door to real stories behind the scenes of the property industry, design, inspiration and practical tips for shifting house, creating calm spaces and keeping your home safe, secure and beautifully comfortable. Because whether you own, rent or simply dream, everyone deserves to feel at home. So make yourself at home. You're listening to Through the Roof. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Through the Roof. My name is Ruth and I've got a really important guest to be able to introduce to you shortly. Her name is Robson and she is an industry trainer and mentor in property management in South Australia and has been doing this for a very long time. I have known her as a fellow trainer at both RESA, which is the Real Estate Institute of SA, and the Real Estate Training College over the years, working as a very dear colleague. And the reason I've got her on here is to just have a little bit of insight to how the industry has changed, what the industry is currently like, and what do we as industry specialists wish for the future. First of all, welcome to Diane.
Thank you very much, Ruth. It's lovely to see you.
Wonderful. I really appreciate your time coming on. First of all, just to let everyone know, we're doing this via Zoom. So if it is a little bit tinny at all, I will try and play with it and hopefully we can get it as a really good recording. My first question, Di, is to ask you, what is your greatest lesson that you've learnt over the years in real estate? Just before you answer that, how many years have you been in this?
Really want to admit that. Oh my goodness. You know, I came out of school at 16 and went to work in a real estate office and haven't looked back. So a long time.
Yeah. So
let's go 40 plus years.
Excellent. There's not much that we haven't come across yet, let's say, especially our joined years together.
You are right, yes.
Yeah. So the greatest lesson that you've learnt in real estate in this time?
Yeah, look, there's not just one. You can't just learn one lesson, but I suppose the standout is the need for being well educated. It's about keeping up to date. It's not, about doing one course and then you're the expert. So it's about continuing your professional development, keeping updated with legislative requirements, and no matter how long you have been in this industry, you can always learn something new or a different way of doing things.
Absolutely.
I suppose I also see the role of property manager is varied and varies so much from office to office. When you're applying for a property management position, I would always say to someone, make sure you know exactly what that entails. So if, for example, finance is not your strong suit, make sure you verbalise that and make sure that if it is part of the position, that you get the training you require. I have had so many discussions with too many property managers over the years who have been in charge of trust accounting, saying to me when there are issues, and they've been major issues, I can't balance my own account. Why did they think I could do a trust account? Or, I've got no idea what I'm doing. I told them I wasn't good at finance. All right, so definitely lesson learned there. Really about creating agency owner-tenant relationships, how important that is. Another lesson, of course, is patience.
Oh, yes.
My family would laugh at that, but my clients always say to me, oh, you're so patient. Maybe.
Maybe it's more internalised frustration than patience.
Yeah.
Great.
The importance of holding tenants in as high regard as we do our owners. For agencies, it's about, giving respect and support to their property managers. When you've got a good one, do what you can to keep them. An unfortunate lesson, not taking people on face value. I certainly have made that mistake in the past. But then just, I suppose, finishing with kindness and goodwill. I had numerous owners in the past that during, for example, the week between Christmas and New Year would give their tenants 1 week rent-free. And that taught me that it generated long-term tenancies where rents were still increased each year, but maintenance was a property for owners. So these became great investments for those owners, and I took that on personally as well.
Fantastic. It's a big difference, isn't it, also with having longevity and the loyalty returned when you're able to thank tenants in some way, whether it be a small thing such as, a gift at routine when they pass, or whether it's something as huge as free rent over Christmas. It just gives that loyalty back because it does go both ways. With your wealth of experience, what would you do differently if you had the opportunity again?
When it comes to inspections, as an example, remembering that I am entering the tenant's home. Early in my career, I don't believe I showed the respect I should have. This was a property we managed, and that's what I was there to do.
We were taught differently back then too.
Yeah, absolutely. But other than that, look, not really too much. I've been blessed. This has never been just a job for me. I love the ongoing rapport I have with my colleagues and clients. I've worked with so many amazing people, as I said, in my 40 plus years, of which, of course, you are on top of my list.
Wonderful.
And, for me, it's lifelong friendships, and that's very valuable.
And it's also nice not having a regret that you want to change. So if you wouldn't really change things any differently, you don't really have regrets. Mistakes made, if you learn from them, become lessons. Another question for you is the old ways versus new. What do you like and what do you dislike about the current way we do things?
Oh, look, we did so much manually. The property management CRMs that are available now are just fantastic.
Yeah.
Look, I started off with a cash book ledger book and individual cards in a box that I had to record tenants paying their rent. Oh,
good
my goodness.
Lord.
Picking up the phone and talking to people versus email. Far too often, I think we hide behind emails. I believe usually a phone call produces a faster outcome. And I like the saying that phone calls deliver the message, emails confirm the message.
100%. I like that one.
I do. What do I love? The apps that are available. Oh, my goodness. Particularly for inspections. Oh, how I wish I had those when I started.
Oh, yes.
And not having to handwrite with carbonised paper or carry around a camera in a case that was the size of an esky with different size lenses I'd have to attach. Then having to go to the chemist, have those photos printed, which were ready about a week later if you were lucky, and then find out that some of them weren't actually in focus.
Yeah, I remember it used to be 24 photos and it would cost $26.50 on average to get those 24 photos actually printed as your ingoing photos for a property. Yeah, wasn't that great?
Ruth,
I believe you've actually got a really good story for us as well in regards to how it used to be.
I do. I've got one very vivid memory with that camera. Its case, the A4 carbonised pad on a clipboard, a pen in hand, on a rural property that I was managing. I'd met the owners of the property to appraise it and was advised at the time that the half a dozen horses and the one donkey that they had would be going off to new homes. On the day of inspection, the owners had asked me not to stand so close to the stable fence because the donkey was prone to biting people's bottoms. So needless to say, I am actually not a horse or donkey person. Anyway, about 4 weeks later, all was going to plan. The owners actually moved overseas to live for 2 years. We had secured some wonderful tenants who themselves had horses. So here I was, carrying out the ingoing inspection on a Thursday for the tenants to move in the next day. Look, I was out there for a long time. It took me quite some time to cover the house, the shedding, the stables. It was on approximately 20 acres.
Wow.
I finished doing the stables and decided to walk to the top of a rise in a paddock just to take photos of the existing fencing. I was standing there thinking what a beautiful day it was, quite a warm day in February, and as I looked through the camera lens, I could see these two odd things. Initially I thought maybe they look like little posts. I took the camera away from my face to look with my own eyes. Actually, I did that twice before it dawned on me that I was looking at a set of donkey ears and he was heading straight towards me. Well, could you imagine? I had to pick up everything and I just ran. I kept looking behind me. The donkey was getting closer and closer. I think I dropped my pen, but that was hard luck. I just made it through the gate as he arrived. I then just collapsed in a heap on the dirt ground with the camera, and needless to say, I looked a wreck. And so did my inspection sheets. So when I got back to the office, they did wonder what on earth had happened. I've never been so scared in my life, apart from my cow situation, but that's another story for another time. And actually, that donkey stayed at the property for the whole 2 years.
Wow, so it lived with the horses with the tenants?
With the tenants, they loved him. Yeah, absolutely.
Lucky.
But he continued to bite bottoms, yeah.
I love stories like that because they're always one-offs and you never forget them. The fact you even remember that it was February, the little details, we just don't forget when we get a fear of something that's happened to us, a memory. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I had one with a dog where I was lifted up the roller door with the remote control and there was sitting this poodle cross huge thing. Yeah, ran after me and then I'm thinking, great, let the dog out. And I'm running down the street and I'm thinking where to leave my car. Yeah, I won't go. It didn't bite me, thank goodness, but I had to try and get the dog back in. I'll never forget, I know the exact address, 20 years later, I remember everything. I drive past, that's the doghouse. Yeah. Okay, another question for you is how has the industry changed since then and now? Like, because we've seen these older yesterday ways to the more technology used days now, what do you think the industry itself, not just the procedures, but how has the industry in itself changed?
Well, definitely legislative changes by far, protecting tenants and their rights. In past years, we would witness landlords who manage their own property taking advantage of tenants by far. For example, expecting rent to be paid in cash every Friday and they would go to collect it.
They'd knock on the door, yeah.
They did. Not only did they knock on the door, but they then would enter the property without being invited and telling the tenants, what they should and shouldn't be doing at the property. I actually experienced one owner who wrote in his agreement that if anyone, for example, as a friend or relative, stayed over at the property, they had to pay an additional amount on top of the rent that week. It was unbelievable.
Yes.
He lived in one of the other units, so he always knew what was going on. And if the rent wasn't paid, then bringing some friends around and physically forcing a tenant out of properties.
Yeah.
It happened.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I know some people have complained about our legislation, but it's there for a reason, and that's what I remember. It needed to be protected. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think in particular the industry change that I've seen, amongst a lot of things, but technology has allowed tenants to really be able to see a property so much easier than seeing the property. So, there's been a lot of different changes, not just in this side of how we do things, but the comparison. I think there's good things with old, like phone calls, but there's good things with new, like the tenants are a lot more informed now and they're able to be kept a lot safer than the older backyard managers. Owners.
Yeah. And I suppose that's saying not only should we be educated, but we should assist with educating our owners and our tenants. It's really important.
Summarising how has the industry changed since then to now, education is a big factor to that, isn't it? Last question I've got for you is, what is your wish for the industry?
Look, I think I would say, just because you have done something a certain way for an extended period of time, don't discount that it could be done better or more efficiently. Open to learning new ways. You are employed as the expert. You should not allow clients telling you what to do when it is working outside of our legislation. Remembering we deal with people. Yes, we manage properties, but it's the people we connect with. Learn everything you can about people, how to develop good people skills, and listening is such a valuable tool. And not being too quick to judge, which, I did this myself recently and I felt so bad about it. There was a situation that I commented on to a client, not knowing all the facts. We need all the facts to look at the whole picture. So again, it's just, remembering not to judge.
Yeah, that's a really nice one to finish off with, especially. I have a story that I would share in class back in the day where one tenant came through to have a look, prospective tenant, I should say, had a tattoo going one line straight down her forehead, all the way down her chin, and I don't know how far down it went. And when she was coming up with her child, I thought to myself, with this particular rental in Goodwood or some very nice suburb, good luck to her in my mind, which was very inappropriate for me to have thought. She ended up having really good references, etc., and she ended up being picked for the property. She was my tenant for probably about 2 years before I moved on from that agency, but she ended up being one of the very best tenants I've ever had. And had I continued to have judged her from what was my first initial thought, we would have missed out on that opportunity. And that taught me really quickly just how instinctively we judge. We do need to judge to some degree for our own safety and for, the fiduciary duty of the owner and always finding the best. However, we can be wrong, and we need to admit and know that we can be wrong. So,
exactly.
no, I like that. One more little thing, I suppose, at the end, which we have gone through all of our questions. What is your plan moving forward with the industry? As in, are you always going to be continue being on the wonderful mentor that you currently are and assisting anyone who reaches out who is either entering into the industry or that you have met along the way?
Oh, look, absolutely. I've taken a little step back, but just a little one.
Why not?
There are personal priorities. This isn't a job.
This is your
passion.
passion.
This is something that I absolute passion. So why would I stop doing something that I really, really love? Yes, as you know, you can always pick up the phone and talk to me.
Absolutely.
Always, yeah. So I'm always open. And again, I have such wonderful current clients, and I'm not going anywhere for those that are listening.
Fantastic. Especially we all rely on each other in this industry. The good ones, the ones that stay in longer, I feel, have a great little community amongst ourselves in that we're able to share, we're able to vent, we're able to learn, we're able to, even outcomes of tribunal, for example. Isn't it fascinating how we can just bounce off each other and avoid a mistake we might make in the future by learning, how it's interpreted? Even that alone, I think, makes us better at what we do. And it's not just, the community itself is not just, legislation learnings and that sort of thing, but it's also like-minded people who are also equally passionate and sharing that passion. It keeps it building, doesn't it?
Networking is so important, isn't
it? 100%.
So always important.
Love it. Wonderful. Well, look, that's the end of this particular interview. Thank you so much for joining me on my podcast. If anybody has heard or has come across Di anywhere before, know that she is one of the good sorts. And any questions, feel free. If you've got any questions for her, you can email me via ruth@thepmboutique.com.au. And any last words, Di?
All the best. Love
Yay.
you.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow Through the Ruth wherever you get your podcasts. And if you've got a story about your home and your experiences, I would love to hear from you. You can reach out, ruth@thepmboutique.com.au. So until next time, take a deep breath, look around and remember, home is what you make it.